We're in Sweden. We're exploring two projects up there. You know, two of actually the most famous mines in Sweden. Falun, which is a copper gold asset, produced 28 million tonnes of 4% copper. So you can imagine what that's worth today. And the Sala asset, and you know, Sala at the, during its heyday was one of the largest and high grade silver mines in Europe. Produced 200 million ounces at the phenomenal grade of 1,244 grams a tonne and up to 7,000 grams a tonne. So you can imagine if we find anything like that, you know, that's going to turn that particular asset on its head as well. You know, I look at a company like Adriatic, and that company is now worth $1 billion. Very different from where we are, and it's a fantastic project there. But it's 12 million tonnes, and it's in Bosnia. And it's got an average grade, silver equivalent grade of about 380 grams per tonne. So again, the potential of something like Sala. And I'm sitting next to Eddie King, and he's from Ragnar Group. And interestingly, right next to our Sala asset, he's just sold his nickel project to BHP. So again, it's you know, a couple of things that I'd like to touch on. You know, one being Sweden and the other being the assets. But you know, that purchase is a really interesting one because it does indicate to you is what's going on in Europe. I think, you know, when people, you know, got excited about the world, you know, Europe was largely closed to foreign investors, or particularly Sweden. And so you saw people racing off to Africa and South America and what have you. And so not a lot of interest was necessarily paid to Sweden, you know. And when I first joined, it was, you know, it's all Scandinavia, it's all green, it's all a bit hard. But, you know, I've been there now. I've been up there a couple of times. I've been around for about a year with Alicanto. And I've spent a bit of time with politicians up there. And if you start to overlay what's going on in Europe at the moment, and you start to think, you know, they use 25% of the world's commodities and they produce 3%. So there's a bit of vulnerability there. And you start to overlay what's going on in Russia, and that vulnerability continues to increase. So there's a real push from the EU to see those member states producing more commodities. And certainly, you know, places like Sweden that have got, you know, some of the bigger mining economies in Europe are sort of understanding that pressure and are keen to talk about how they can sort of help facilitate, get things going over there. You know, you look at the assets that we've got that I mentioned. We have, you know, have the Falun asset. When I first joined, we were going to build a mine at Sala. You know, we had put a resource on the ground there of about 10 million tonnes. And it was all coming together pretty well. But in the meantime, we've had this wonderful Falun asset, and we put our first hole down there in October, November last year, and we hit 43 meters of mineralization. You know, 750 grams per ton of silver and almost 2% of copper. But what was even more exciting than that hole was that we identified this off-hole conductor. Now, what Falun is effectively within that lead, zinc, silver mineralization are these Falun type structures, these elevated copper gold structures. And that's ultimately what we're looking for. You know, the Falun structure in itself, like a very, very small footprint, you know, was about 100 by 200 by 500 meters deep. And in that little footprint, you had that 28 million tons of 4% copper. So again, if I can find that, like the Sala asset, if I can find anything that looks like or smells like 4% copper, this company's worth a fortune. So, you know, to see that off-hole conductor was the thing that was really exciting. So we could put one more hole down there. So all I said to the geo is don't miss. It's sort of like, it's just like putting the mocker on yourself, isn't it? You know, so look, I'm sure we didn't miss by a lot, but what we did hit was this 8 meters of copper stringer mineralization. And we know the copper stringer mineralization sits in the footwall of Falun. So if anything, that project's actually got more exciting for us. We've also, since that time, it's a bit like that story, you know, that ad, and, you know, there's a lot of older people in the room, so of my vintage. So, you know, it's that ad where the guy said, you know, he uses a really good razor and says, I'll go and buy the company. Well, we then went and bought the Falun claim after that. We didn't own that. We then, and we've done a lot of work there since. We've collected a whole lot of historic drill holes, and we put out an announcement on Monday where we put all of these into some 3D modelling, and there are some phenomenal structures there, all sitting outside the old mining voids and all ready for us to start drilling. You know, some of the intercepts that we found there, you know, like 50 metres of 4% gold, 4 grams per tonne gold, you know, 15 metres of 2% copper, 7 metres of 7% copper. I mean, it's just amazing what we were coming up with there. And then, so we've actually then shown now that between Falun and the 3.5 kilometres to we put that first drill hole at Whitgrooven, that's all the same mineralised zone. And we've now found a whole lot of gravity anomalies that sit along that trend. So we're now at a point where we're getting a new drill contractor on board, and we're looking to sort of start that drill program very, very shortly. And rather than sort of coming and talking to you about what the concept is of what we've got, you know, I hope during this quarter we'll actually have the proof will be in the pudding when we start that drilling very shortly. So thank you very much, and enjoy your lunch.